If you think modern-day train robbers are just characters out of a good old Hollywood Western, well, allow me to introduce you to the real deal, a man so infamous that his name echoes through the dusty annals of the Wild West. His name was Tom Black Jack Ketchum, a man with a knack for train heists, a reputation as an outlaw, and, as we'll find out, one of the most famous hangings in the West. His story is filled with daring escapes, brazen robberies, and a no-nonsense approach to breaking the law. So grab your cowboy hats, folks, and hold onto your saddles because we're about to ride into the wild and tumultuous life of Tom Black Jack Ketchum. Tom Ketchum didn't pop out of the womb as Black Jack. Oh no, that title had to be earned. Born in 1863 in San Saba County, Texas, Tom was just an average farm boy growing up in the post-Civil War frontier. His early years weren't much to write home about, just the usual. Working the fields, helping his family, and dreaming of something bigger. But as fate would have it, the agricultural lifestyle didn't quite satisfy Tom's adventurous spirit. Maybe it was the wide-open plains, the sound of hooves thundering across the desert, or simply the allure of easy money. Whatever it was, young Tom set off to seek his fortune, and boy, did he find it, on the wrong side of the law. By the early 1890s, Tom Ketchum was living the outlaw dream. After teaming up with his older brother Sam, the duo formed the backbone of the Ketchum Gang. But what's a gang without a specialty? Tom quickly realized that robbing trains was the Wild West version of winning the lottery. But instead of a scratch-off ticket, he had a loaded revolver. The Ketchum brothers and their gang became notorious for their well-planned train robberies across New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. They didn't just rob trains, they commandeered them. And nothing screams outlaw more than taking control of an iron horse rolling down the tracks. But here's the thing about Tom. He was no ordinary bandit. His charisma and cunning made him a force to be reckoned with. He had the guts to pull off some of the most audacious heists in the Southwest, and more importantly, he had the brains to plan them. But you know what they say, no plan survives first contact with the law. Here's where the story gets an unexpected twist. The nickname Black Jack wasn't even meant for Tom. Talk about identity theft in the Wild West. You see, another outlaw, thought to be part of the hole-in-the-wall gang, had earned the moniker Black Jack long before Ketchum got involved in his criminal career. But as the story spread, Tom somehow ended up inheriting the name. And let's be real, it stuck. I mean, Tom Ketchum just doesn't strike fear into the heart of a conductor like Black Jack does. But Black Jack he became, and Black Jack he remained, a name that would go down in history. Of course, you can't go around robbing trains without ruffling a few feathers, particularly those of the lawmen who were, to put it mildly, tired of their schedules being derailed, literally. Tom's first major run-in with the law happened in 1896. After one too many successful heists, law enforcement set their sights on the Ketchum Gang, and the heat was on. But Tom was no stranger to a good escape. In fact, the Ketchum Gang managed to elude capture time and time again, slipping through the fingers of sheriffs and deputies like a bar of soap in a dusty saloon. Tom Black Jack Ketchum wasn't just an outlaw. He was a maestro of mayhem, and the train robbery of 1897 is a perfect example of his boldness and precision. By this point, Tom and his gang had become well known for their train heists. But this one was a doozy, both in scope and impact. On September 3, 1897, the Ketchum Gang set their sights on a Colorado and Southern Railroad train near the small town of Twin Mountain, New Mexico. They chose this train because it was rumored to be carrying a large shipment of valuables. The plan? Stop the train dead in its tracks, literally. With typical Wild West flair, Tom and his men planted dynamite on the tracks, aiming to blow out the front of the train. forcing it to come to a screeching halt. But like many of Ketchum's wild plans, this one didn't go off without a hitch, pun intended. The dynamite exploded a little too close for comfort, nearly destroying the entire locomotive. The train stopped all right, almost completely derailed. The gang leapt into action, guns drawn and faces masked, just like the outlaws you'd imagine from an old-timey Western film. The terrified passengers were rounded up, but the true prize was in the mail car, where the gang managed to score a hefty haul of cash, jewelry, and other valuables. Yet, what made this heist famous wasn't just the stolen loot. It was the sheer audacity of blowing up part of a train in broad daylight and escaping unscathed. The explosion was so loud it could be heard for miles, alerting local law enforcement. However, by the time the posse arrived, the Ketchum Gang had vanished into the rugged wilderness, leaving behind smoldering wreckage and a reputation that was more fearsome than ever. For Tom Ketchum, this heist cemented his status as a master of the high-stakes robbery game. It was a classic Wild West caper, equal parts chaos and cunning, and one that would make headlines for years to come. If train robbery was Tom Ketchum's bread and butter, then the Folsom Raid was his attempt to serve a full-course outlaw meal. The Folsom Raid of 1897 was another one of Ketchum's grandiose criminal exploits, but this time, the gang decided to shake things up by targeting the small town of Folsom, New Mexico. It wasn't just about looting a train this time, it was about taking over a whole town. In a daring move that would put many a Western villain to shame, Ketchum and his men stormed into Folsom like they owned the place, intent on robbing the town's general store and bank. The gang rolled into town under the cover of darkness, aiming to slip in, grab the goods, and get out before anyone could sound the alarm. But as usual, things didn't go quite as planned. The Folsom residents were a bit tougher than expected, and they weren't going to let some outlaw gang take their hard-earned cash without a fight. A local lawman, Deputy Sheriff W.H. Love, caught wind of the raid and quickly organized a posse. Before Ketchum and his crew could empty the bank vault, they were interrupted by gunfire. A fierce shootout ensued, with bullets flying in every direction, echoing through the quiet streets of Folsom. Tom Ketchum was known for being a cool customer in these situations, and he showed it here. Despite being pinned down by the posse, Ketchum managed to keep his gang organized and even fired back with deadly accuracy. Deputy Love, unfortunately, was killed during the firefight, and with the lawman out of the way, the Ketchum Gang managed to grab a decent amount of cash and supplies before hightailing it out of town. The death of Deputy Love brought even more heat down on the gang, turning them into one of the most wanted groups in New Mexico. Things started going south for Tom, literally and figuratively, when his brother Sam was shot and killed during a botched robbery in 1897. Losing his brother took a toll on Tom, but instead of going straight, he decided to double down on his outlaw lifestyle. Maybe it was vengeance, maybe it was stubbornness. Whatever the case, Tom Ketchum was now flying solo, and he wasn't about to give up his criminal empire without a fight. The fateful day that sealed Tom's legacy came in 1899, when he decided to rob the same train twice. Now I know what you're thinking. Why rob the same train again? But Tom was nothing if not audacious. He clearly figured, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Unfortunately for him, the lawman had other ideas. During his second attempt to rob the Colorado and Southern train near Folsom, New Mexico, Tom Ketchum's luck finally ran out. As he tried to board the train, a well-placed shotgun blast from the conductor hit him squarely, leaving him seriously wounded. Not quite the Hollywood-style blaze of glory ending he probably had in mind. After his capture, Tom was promptly tried and convicted, but it wasn't for his laundry list of train robberies. Instead, he was charged with attempted train robbery. Oddly specific, right? But here's the kicker. New Mexico had just passed a law making train robbery a capital offense. That's right. Tom was about to become the first man in New Mexico to be hanged for trying to rob a train, not for succeeding. Now you might be thinking, how bad can a hanging really be? Well, let's just say that Tom's hanging became legendary for all the wrong reasons. On April 26, 1901, Tom "Black Jack" Ketchum was led to the gallows. But there was a small, technical difficulty. The executioners had seriously miscalculated Tom's weight. Instead of a quick drop and a broken neck, they gave Tom too long of a fall. The result? Let's just say things got messy. In one of the most infamous botched hangings in the West, the force of the drop actually decapitated Tom. Yep, you heard that right. He literally lost his head over it. Tom "Black Jack" Ketchum didn't go out quietly.